What verse are we on? Somebody is asking.
138. We were talking
138, apparently.
time.
Yeah, 138.
I keep saying the sound isn't clear.
Sound is not clear?
But we tested it earlier and it's fine. Huh?
Yes.
Is the volume up
Mm-hmm.
all the way? And is there a volume control here?
Mm.
That needs to be up, no? Namaha. Already third class today. 3 classes today. Yeah.
Oh no, sorry.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu
Sahaviryam
Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om
Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Om Namo Bhagavate
Vaivasvataya Mrityave
Vaivasvataya Vidyave
Brahma Vidyacharyaya
Brahma Vidyacharyaya
Nachiketa Secha.
Nachiketa Secha.
138. Let us see which one that is. Oh, I have the page open at 1312. I am ahead. Somehow I don't know where it went there. Ah, okay. 138 we finished, no? Yes?
Well, we were still talking. I don't know if we finished or not. Swami.
We don't know if we finished or not. Okay. Let us chant 138 and 9 together and then we'll discover whether we finished or not.
Okay.
Yastu vijnanavan bhavati
Yasu vijnanam bhavati
samanaska sada shuchihi
samanaska sada shuchihi
satu tat padamapnoti
satutat paramapnoti
yasmad bhuyo na jayate.
yasmat bhuyo na jayate.
Vijnana सारथिर्यस्तु
Vijnana saratiriyastu
मनः प्रग्रहवान् नरः
manah pragrahavanaraha
सोऽध्वनः पारमाप्नोति.
sodvanah paramapnoti.
सोऽध्वनः नो सोऽध्वनः पारमाप्नोति. सोऽध्वनः पारमाप्नोति.
Sodvanah paramapnoti.
तद्विष्णोः परमं पदम्.
Tad Vishnu paramam padam.
Yeah, this is because we chanted Bilvashtakam. That same vritti is there. Right? Sounds similar?
Yeah.
Oh.
Sounds very similar.
So, again there was a dyad. One, which we did not chant. 7 and 8 were dyads. 8 we chanted. 7th one was part of the undesirable part of the dyad, because we have been seeing desirable and undesirable. And what was the undesirable part? Where does the person go? Straight to samsara. Express train, plummeted into samsara. What are you talking about? Where was the person before? Samsara. So what do you mean goes to samsara? No, the word goes, Adi Shankara says in the Bhashya, there is no going or coming. The going is as though. Goes to samsara means remains plummeted in samsara. That means what? What is samsara here? From the standpoint of Lord Yama, what is samsara characterized by? The one thing.
Death to death.
Death to death you go. Mrityoho mrityum apnoti. And samsaram cha adhigacchati. Meaning what? That after one death, you prepare for the next death. And whether that death is going to be at the cellular level even as conception is taking place, or whether that death is going to be SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, or whether that death is going to be a young death or a old decrepit death, doesn't matter. You're being battered around from death to death. From Lord Yama's standpoint, this is the worst samsara, and even in samsara itself, even in the scope of one life, is characterized by many small deaths that one dies every day. Yeah, the whole thing is, it's huge, Even as one spiritually grows, there are a lot of deaths one dies, correct? Because there is the threshold, as the threshold of titiksha increases. There are so many deaths, the ego commits suicide many times. So there is that as well, but we are not talking of that. There is no growth in samsara. Here, the only growth is growth of kartritvam, growth of bhoktritvam, like a fungus. It keeps growing and attracting more things, and it's just a hideous thing to watch. And so the person with ashuchihi and amanaskaha finally ends up where? In samsara. Meaning, ends up means what? That was the beginning point, meaning there is no change, it's business and transactions as usual. Now what about the other fellow? Who was the other fellow? The other ideal type situation. The one who was Vijnanavan or Avijnanavan? Vijnanavan. Avijnana means no knowledge, or bad knowledge. Here, the one with sound knowledge. We are not talking of Atma Vidya here. We are talking of Adhikaritvam here. Let us be very clear here. We are talking of Adhikaritvam and the predilection to follow Dharma. That is the Vijnanavan, the one who is endowed with the knowledge of Adhikaritvam. And if you are endowed with the knowledge of Adhikaritvam, you are also endowed with what? You are endowed with the Shamadama, etc. So that is the person here, endowed with Adhikaritvam, that is the Vijnanavan. Samanaskaha, the one who has a say over the ways of the mind. We saw that yesterday in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. The one who has Chitta Naishchalyam, the one who has Chitta Shuddhi, Sada Shuchihi Chitta Shuddhi, Samanaskaha Chitta Naishchalyam. Satu, that, whereas such a person, Tat Padam Apnoti, gains the goal. Tat Padam, pun intended. What is Tat Padam?
That destination.
That destination. What is that destination? What is that? Where do you hear the word Tat?
Tattva.
That's what immediately you should think of. Tat Padam means that Tat Pada Vichara, Lakshyam. That Tat Pada Lakshyam, that which is characterized by the word Tat everywhere. That which, initially, from the standpoint of the ignorance, initially was seen as remote. That is why the pronoun, the tat is used. Not etat. Etat here, body, mind, sense, complex, aches and pains and, all kinds of locally available things for objectification, Etat. Tat, far away. And in English also it's the same thing. This flower, is it etat or tat?
Etat.
Etat. Why? It is right here. Etat pushpam. But if it was far away, I would say tat, etat, tat. And this Lord Yama is very skilled in linguistics, in a sense of humor, in grammar and everything. And so he is saying that which was Tat, that which was known by Tat in other Upanishads and elsewhere, even in this Upanishad, that Tat really, Tat Padam, which I thought I will never get that Padam. That Padam means that status of, not going to Tat, being Tat. Apnoti means what? Gains as oneself, because that Tat is not away from you. That is that same thing which was described earlier in the last Valli as etad alambanam param, etad alambanam shreshtham, etad alambanam jnatva, brahmaloke mahiyate, jivanneva, the one who is as good as going to brahmaloka. Then yadichanto bhaikshyacharyan charanti, The ones who, for the sake of which knowledge, give up everything and take to a life of alms. This, that, tatte padam. See how wonderful he is, amazing. Tatte padam sangrahena pravakshe. Look there, where was it? Yeah. If you are looking at me as though you are not recognizing it, you have to look here, okay? Yeah, so let us see where he said that. And you can see the tightness of this argument. You can see the beauty of this. Where did he say that? 14th verse. In the last valli, I think. Etad. Yeah, here. 15th verse, not bad, yeah. Sarve Vedaha Yat Padam. See, same. Yat Padam. The Padam is there, correct? Sarve Vedaha Yat Padam Amananti. Tapamsi Sarvani cha Yad Badanti. Yadichanto Brahmacharyan Charanti. Tatte Padam. Tat Padam. See, same word. Tat Padam. Sangrahena Bravimi. That Padam here is really, because of these adhikaritvam, because of having these qualifications, tat padam here in the 8th verse of the 3rd valli, there is a beautiful synergy here, there is a beautiful tying up of the loose ends, what it takes on the day-to-day basis to gain this tat padam. What does it take at the level of the changes in my own psyche to gain that tat padam, which was described briefly as Om. Omkara Lakshana, which had Omkara Lakshana, Tat Padam. And he says, Sangrahena Pravakshe, Sangrahena Bravimi. I will speak very in short about it. Om Ityetat. And he was, really of short words. Yeah, he doesn't say, the first time I heard of Om, and Om is like this, and like, he doesn't meander. He says, I will talk about this briefly, and he just says in one syllable, Om. Om iti etat. Look at this beautiful play of words between tat and etat. So unknown, that which finds its home in Om is what? Tat. Known it is etat. Because, Yama knows it. So, Om iti etat, this very Om right here, which for you right now, Nachiketa, is tat because you are in the process of knowing. But for me, the teacher, for the one who is teaching here, Lord Yama, he says, for me it is etat. And so there is, in this Upanishad, you will find a lot of word play with etat and tat. There is a whole section after this will come upon. Etat vaitat, etat vaitat, this alone is that itself, that is this itself. It's a series of Mahavakyas. Etat vaitat is the chorus of it. We'll come upon that. And at that time you have to recall this moment here. Which moment where? Right here? Yeah, right here, right now. Whichever date it is today, 21st, 22nd? 22nd of January, what we studied. Yeah, and we have to think about this. And then when we think about this moment here, we think of that moment there, where again that word tat was used and etat was used, and here that tat padam, that far away feeling that this Brahman is far away, and I really want this Brahman, I want to know, I can cognitively take it on Shraddha, that it is myself, but I want to know it completely. I don't want to just have the Shraddha, I want to assimilate this knowledge. So what do you need to do? Become Vijnanavan, learn to drive, learn to drive on the road of Dharma, all these things, have a say over the ways of the mind, have Chitta Shuddhi, have Chitta Naishchalyam, clean out the forest of Ragadveshas, all these things, and then what? You will be closer to knowing this Tat Padam as Etat Padam. The Tat becomes Etat. So that's why Tat Tvam Asi. And that Tvam is equal to Tat. That is what it is. Because otherwise, if you know 100 tats, tat, what's the big use? If 100 tats you find out, each one is bigger than you, then your inferiority complex, which was there as a hurting from the beginning of time, like an ingrown toenail about which you cannot talk. This is the capital ignorance and the feeling of inferiority. So if you know 100 tats, what do you get? Nothing. You get to feel even more inferior, that's all. Oh, even this person is bigger. I thought at least Brahman, I'll be better than Brahman. Even Brahman is bigger. And then what? You sit under the covers. That's what it is. Temperature is going down. So no need to come out of under the covers. That's all it is. But here, that tat is revealed as etat, meaning I. That is where the beauty of it is. And that is why the tat becomes jneyam, to be known, worthy of jnana yogyam, jneyam, to be known. And so therefore what? Therefore, and what is the characteristic of tat padam? Yasmat, from where, gaining which, aptva, having gained, bhuyaha. Bhuyaha means repeatedly, again and again, na jayate. What is jayate? Born. So repeatedly is born? No, na jayate, not born. Repeatedly is not born, meaning once only is born. No, that is what's this life. Was born right now. But then is not born again into samsara. One is no longer a born again. So this is a very good thing. If one is no longer a born again, that means more sanity, more, more sanity, more everything, more objectivity. And in this life, the knowledge has saved one from needing to come back into the world of ignorance, characterized by an upadhi which has ignorance. And then from the standpoint of the major theologies, that is seen as a bad thing, in a certain way. Death is seen as a bad thing. We don't see death as a bad thing. Fir se wapas aayega. What's the big deal, And you will never hear a Hindu lament, oh, I have so many things left to do in my life. We always say there is the next life. Don't worry, I haven't tasted butterscotch ice cream. Don't worry, Next life you can taste butterscotch. At least butter you have tasted. Yeah, butter I have tasted. Add some scotch. That's all it is. What's the big deal? Add some scotch, freeze it. Big deal. Isme kya hai? So this is the thing. We never lament. And in fact, after a person passes away, then there is a prayer said by all the family members that in your next life, like the wife or the husband, the spouse who is remaining, will say, in your next life, may you have a better spouse than I was ever able to be for you. What a nice thing. Because obviously I'm, not, infallible. And obviously, there were so many things that went wrong in this marriage. Next life, may you have a better spouse. And the children say, obviously, I could not fulfill all your aspirations. In the next life, may you have an extremely obedient child, not like this anarchist rebel that I was. Yeah. May you have a better child in your next life. Because that next life is always there to look forward to, because avidya has not been eradicated. So one can at least take a heart that there is a next life. So we never think like, oh, I could never experience everything and oh, this is just a one-shot deal. We don't say that. Next life is always there. Unless one has gained this teaching. One has understood this tat as etat. This tat no longer has a, remote control button. Tat has become etat. Tat has become myself. That has become this. And this I, which is the cause of the universe, I have understood. No more sorrow, no more fear. And the reason to be born is to exhaust karma. What karma is there for the person of knowledge? No karma. Oh, but they are falling sick. What is falling sick? Body is falling sick. And then there was one guru, who started to have Alzheimer's. And Rishikesh. And it got bad. Very great jnani. It got very bad. And then he could not recognize his own students. And the student came, another sannyasi, and fell at his feet. And he said, Beta, my son, young one, आपका गुरुस्थान किधर है? Who is your guru? This is what supposedly he said, because he didn't recognize. He was completely wiped out. What was wiped out? The memory was wiped out. Is the jnanam also wiped out? No. Why? Thankfully, for Sanskrit you need memory, but for jnanam, it is you. It is a knowledge from which memory springs, like an underground spring. It is that knowledge, from which is not the knower, not the known, which transcends memory. That's what this is, the beauty of it is. So the mind may completely be wiped clean, or maybe the jnani goes cuckoo, doesn't even know what they are saying. Could happen with dementia, anything with age, anything is possible. Loses the memory, goes cuckoo, starts talking to themselves. I have seen people like that. But it is what you see is the body-mind-sense complex which is doing its thing. It's aging, jayate, vardhate, viparinamate, apakshiyate, vinashyati, all that. Why did I bring in all that? Because jayate was brought here. Yeah. So all of this you can add. All the 6 modifications, what undergoes is the body-mind-sense complex. The one who is living in the body-mind-sense complex is just so minimally connected with it. Very minimal connection. It's a very interesting situation. Because, the body belongs to such a person, correct? Mind belongs to the person. But there is a very minimal connection, enough for the daily transactions and enough to eat, drink, sleep, move around, just basic things. But beyond that, there is no owning up of the body as me. Mine is okay, but even that is kind of suspect, but we can talk about that later. But this body is as good as me, there is no owning up of that. And even that mine, there is a possession without ownership. Yes, I possess this body, but I don't own it. That's what the thing is. There's a possession without ownership. Very beautiful. Same thing with the body and the mind. And so if any diseases happen, yes, you pour some medicine down, and then take care of it, or just dip yourself in oil and hang out to dry, and all kinds of things you do. You do what you need to do. But then that feeling of affectation and that identification is extremely minimal. And Panchadashikara in chapter 4 talks of 3 kinds of associations, with the body. The writer of the Panchadashi, who is that? Yeah, very good. Swami Vidyaranya, who wrote the Panchadashi, talks of 3 forms of identification. That there are possible 3 ways to identify with anything. For example, the body. One is called, so the identification, the word for identification in Sanskrit is tadatmya, tadatmyam, tadatmata, tadatmanah bhava, tadatmyam. And so this tadatmyam means identification. So the identification is from 3 points of view, or 3 standpoints, or 3 sources. What is the first one? Karmaja tadatmyam. Karmano jayate, born of karma. So there is an identification with the body, a karma based identification. And even before that, a basic identification called Sahaja Tadatmyam. Sahasa Jayate, I mean it is inbuilt. It is inbuilt. An inbuilt identification. Like if you pinch me, so nobody else, the person sitting next to me will not say ow, I will say ow, correct? Yeah. And then finally the third kind of association is what? Bhrantijam Tadatmyam. Bhrantija. Bhranti means what? Bhram. Bhram means, what does Bhram mean? To wander. Bhranti is delusion, where you wander in the maze of delusion. Bhranti. So, an identification born of Bhranti. So what does Karmaja Tadatmyam with regard to the body, mind, sense complex give? It is in charge of the parentage. You will be the such and such a number child to these kinds of parents who have these issues, and you yourself will have these issues which are different from the parents, and this is what will happen. And you will have, this body will have the predilection of having certain diseases. This is what is called Karmaja Tadatmya. Then Sahaja Tadatmya, that everybody who is endowed with a body, mind, sense complex has a certain ownership, in the sense that if you hit here, the person is going to respond, correct? Yeah, and I have given you the example many times. If you go behind an enlightened guru and say, Boo Guru, actually you say Bho Guru, but anyhow, if you put it in English, if you try to scare them, will the guru jump? Maybe the body may jump, because the body got startled, and to protect itself it jumped. But the one who identifies as the I does not identify with the body, so the stationary guru does not jump. The body of the guru may jump, correct? May or may not, but anyhow, that's how it is. So the Sahaja Tadatmya you cannot remove, Karmaja Tadatmya you cannot remove. The only Tadatmya identification that is removed with self-knowledge is which one? Bhrantijam Tadatmyam. Totally removed. So there is no, this Bhrantijam is identification because of delusion. What kind of delusion? I am as good as the body. I am as good as the mind. I am as good as every disease I get. And this runs in families. And so in India I have seen, India is the, what is that? Land of diabetes. Everybody, because so much processed rice, white rice and everything, and maybe there is a certain, predilection because of the certain genome, whatever, picture, we don't know. But then I have met people in families, because this is a hereditary disease. So, okay, you can't eat sugar, big deal, what's the, and then so you go to somebody's house, and of course they will offer you tea. And in India we only have one kind of tea. What is that?
Sweet tea.
Very, 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 very sweet tea. Or coffee. They're not going to ask you, oh, you want with cream, without cream, calf, decaf, with sugar, with aspartame. Oh, but it comes with these cancer risks. Nobody is going to give you any choices. Coffee means it will just be put in front of you. You just drink it, that's all. And it will have a few pounds of sugar, that's it, and you just drink it, But then these days, with everybody having diabetes, it's customary for people to ask, or sometimes people will say, like the lady of the house will go to the kitchen to prepare the coffee, and the guest might sit there and give a shout and say, oh, please don't put sugar, okay? Yeah, and then nobody even asks, because it's so common. Oh, why are you not having sugar? It's very obvious why you're not having sugar, And there are some people who feel extremely self-conscious. I know people like this, who are extremely self-conscious to tell others that they have something going wrong with the body. I mean, not that you have to put a board and advertise it and walk around, That's not what I'm advocating. But I'm talking of the great sense of self-consciousness around this issue. And then there are people who say, oh, why it had to happen to me. Some people will not tell because they are ashamed. And why is this shame? This is an example of Brantijam Tadatmyam, anything that's happening to the body, because the Kartritvam with connection to the body is so much that the Kartritvam embraces the disease. Ayyo, that's the thing. The Kartritvam, the sense of doership, and the sense of the other one. What's the other one? Bhoktritvam. I am suffering from this disease. That identification is so much. It is based on delusion, and it just completely embraces this. And then there are, on the other side of the continuum, there are people who feel guilty whenever they have a disease. Oh, all these years I was vegetarian. I did not smoke, I did not drink, I did not do anything, and here I have, all these horrible diseases. And look at that idiot. That fellow, did everything that he was told not to do. And he can even eat one small pebble and digest it, nothing happens. Why me? On the other end of the continuum of Brantijam Tadatmyam, the delusion-born identification is Bhoktritvam, one end Kartritvam. So either you feel ashamed because you feel like you have caused the disease, or you feel targeted. Why do I have this disease? How can you cause the disease? What are you the cause of? Other than confusion, tell me. How can you think that you are so big that you can cause the disease? The body comes with its own timeline. Tick, 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 tick. Don't forget. What is tick, tick? Huh? What is that called? Udana Vayu. Udana Vayu. It has its own timeline. And sometimes it goes tick, 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 meaning few diseases have manifested already. Either that or you are hyperventilating. Yeah. That's one more reason to not breathe into paper bag. Yeah, because when you hyperventilate, a few years are gone. Because the years are counted through the breaths, not through the months and days. That's what we say. And so now, this is the Brantijam Tadatmyam alone is removed. Why not Karmajam? Because that was the body is always a quote unquote, I can use this here, I can get away with this, a pre-enlightenment body. Yeah. Usually you will not hear me use the word like enlightenment. But here I can say a pre-jnanam body, correct? No, but why not post-jnanam body? Are you Bhagavan? There is only one person, an avatara, who has post-jnana and body. Yes. You cannot say, it cannot become a karmadharya compound. Post-jnanascha asau, bodischa. You cannot say that. You cannot say that in the same breath. You cannot say enlightened and embodied, embodied while enlightened. There is only avatara possible. What is avatara? Bhagavan deciding that it's time to pay this earthlings a visit. That is avatara. When Krishna walked the earth, when Rama walked the earth, Buddha, Jesus, anybody you can take. And so, that body, that's why, even in the Bible, you have this immaculate conception. It's very beautiful. Yeah. Meaning it's not, it's sambabhuva, not babhuva. It's a body that was specially made. So what is the cause of this body? Any body? Anybody's body. What is the cause? Karma. Karma is ignorance, of course. But then karma is the cause of the body, correct? So for the avatara also karma is the cause. Whose karma? Not their own. The collective samashti prayers of all the people, who are under the spell of Rakshasas, saying, Trahimam, Pahimam, how can you look at this? Look at what the world is coming to. Look at the capitalists. Look at the global warming. Look at how much it snowed. Look at all these things. Look at the weather changes. Look at people dying. Look at Sudan. Look at all these world situations. Look at hungry children everywhere. And you're just sitting, listening to all this. Are you there? Come, help us. That kind of a prayer ardently coming from the groups and groups and groups of devotees, results in a magic body that is self-aware, aware of itself and aware of everything else. It is both within and without. It is called Ubhayatah Prajna. Yeah, so it feels what the body is feeling, it feels what other bodies are also feeling. It's very diffuse identity, very special identity. That's the only thing that you can say is a post-enlightenment body, if it's possible. That also comes with a tick, 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 because how much can you pray, correct? Yeah, and Lord Krishna knew it was time to give up the body. And he knew how it's going to happen. Small nail or something on the beach. He went to the beach. He knew it's time to go. And a small nail or something, grabbed him. Tetanus, finished, the body. He left his body at the shore. That's what they say. So this is what it is. So even that body, which is a product of prayer, dissipates. Because how much can you pray? How much ever you have prayed, that has caused this body, which has come with a certain timeline. But all other bodies that have gained knowledge, so there was the pre-enlightenment body, correct? The pre-jnanam body and the post-jnanam body. So the post-jnanam, who is the one who is living in this body? The ahankara is the post-jnanam, correct? The ahankara which was living in the pre-jnanam body, correct? So the product of this body, which is ignorance, karma, that body has come into being, and the I-ness that was associated with this body was suffering from ignorance. You cannot say body is ignorant. Body is a product of karma, and the I being, the I-ness associated with this body is suffering from primal ignorance, Moola Avidya. And then the person goes to a guru and gets the teaching, and no more is ignorant of the Atma, of oneself. But then the body continues based on the premise of the pre-enlightenment, that karma shesha has to still continue. The only difference is the person has just completely, not identifying with the body in the same way. That is the difference. So you cannot remove karmajam tadatmyam. You cannot remove sahaja tadatmyam. The point is not to sit on a bed of the nails and not say ouch. That is not the idea. But you can remove bhrantijam tadatmyam. And when you remove this identification based on self-delusion, based on the delusion that I am a separate entity locked in this body-mind-sense complex, I am separated and alienated from everything, the other two identifications do not matter. Yes, they just come along like a shadow. They don't cause affliction. So here, this is what we have to say, yasmat bhuyona jayate. Waking up to which knowledge, there is no need to take on another pre-enlightenment body. Correct? Yeah. What if that person comes back as Bhagavan? That is not coming back. Yeah. And he's going to, Adi Shankara is going to say a few things about coming back. Then the next one. Vijnana sarathihi yaha tu manah pragrahavan naraha. So now, tu, whereas, Vijnana sarathihi, the one endowed with a intelligent driver. What is the driver in this example? Buddhi. So the one who is endowed with an intelligent driver in the form of the Buddhi. And then manaha pragrahavan, meaning the one whose mind is within their own hands. Nigrihita chittaha, samahita chittaha, Adi Shankara says. Nigrihita or samahita? Samahita chittaha, yeah. And then, pragrahita manaha. And then what happens? So sun, having been that naraha, the one who is also sada shuchihi, that all has to be brought in, everything that was said earlier has to be included. So the one who was sada shuchihi, samanaskaha, pragrahavan naraha. Pragrahavan means the one who is in whose hands the reins are very, very tightly held, and in whose the mind is the functioning as the reins. And then that vidvan, that person, what happens? Advanaha. Advanaha apnoti, catches hold of the road. Advan means road. What kind of road? That which goes beyond samsara. Yeah, samsarasya param. That, advanaha apnoti, gains that road. And what happens? Samsara gatehe param, correct. Yeah, so that which is beyond samsara. Meaning, how can anything be beyond samsara? If you're asking that, then what happens? How can anything be beyond samsara? Means you are beyond samsara. The only thing that is outside of samsara is you. Your own true nature is outside of samsara. Samsara means ignorance. Samsara means not understanding the truth of oneself. So there are two roads we had already seen. And this Upanishad is very tightly knit. Even though it's long, it doesn't meander aimlessly. So it started off with two roads. What were they called? Yes. And what is the Pravritti Nivritti Adi Shankara calls? What does Shreyas and Preyas. Preyas, the desirable, Shreyas, the most exalted. So they started off with two roads. And then Shreyo, Preyo, Yoga Kshemad Vrinite. Mandaha Vrinite. We were told. Manda means what? Very intelligent? No. Slow and dull. Slow on the uptake. Very dull. So the dull fellow who doesn't understand what is what chooses prayers. Other people, the intelligent people, choose Shreyas. Shreyas is moksha, Preyas is not moksha. Everything else other than moksha. All time-bound joys, are called Preyas. Preyas means desirable. Shreyas means that which is desired, different. That which is desirable ultimately. And so here again, Advana, two Advanas are pointed out, two roads. One road, is actually loops you back into samsara. This is the road of prayers, this is the road of ashuchihi, this is the road of ragadvesha, this is the road of, amanaskaha, this is the road of avidyatvam. No vidya, no knowledge, no dharma, no shamadamaha, no qualifications. It's called samsara chakram. Chakram, both ways. So, then, whereas the other road is that saha advanaha param apnoti. Param means kasya param? Samsarasya param. Param means beyond. And that, since the Upanishad is a lady of few words, she is not going to say that. It won't fit in the meter. Saha advanaha samsarasya gatehe param apnoti. And what is that, kasya lakshana? What kind of lakshana is there? And, that is muchyate, freeze. It's got the lakshana, or it is characterized by freedom. It is characterized by completely, like the beltway. Exactly like the DC beltway, correct? You think you are going on 495 and it goes in both directions, you are keeping on going. Very good example. So then adhigantavyam iti etad apnoti muchyate sarva samsara bandhanaihi muchyate tad vishnoho vyapanashilasya brahmanah paramatmanoho vasudevakhyasya paramam prakrishtam padam sthanam. So he says that, okay, what is this road? Where does this non-samsara road leads to? The non-samsara road leads to that which is all pervasive, Vishnu. Vyapanashilaha. The word Vishnu is interesting, Wish, not wish to enter, but wish. Wish in the sense of pervasion. And Ishnuch is the pratyaya. Ishnuch. Yeah. Vishnuhu, Sahishnuhu, Jishnuhu, all the same thing. Ishnuch. And so this Ishnuch is a very interesting pratyaya. It means having that nature. So Vish means the one who pervades. Vishnu means the one who has the nature of all pervasiveness. And one never leaves the, Swabhavasya nanivrittihi. One never leaves one's nature. So the Vishnu, once a Vishnu, always a Vishnu. So this is what it is. So it leads you to that all-pervasive self, and which is called Vishnu here, which is also known as Brahman, which is, what is this Brahman? Ishvara. This Ishvara alone, who is called Vasudeva. Why is it called Vasudeva? Vas, to live, to abide. Deva, effulgence. The one who abides in all beings in the form of self-effulgence. That Brahman. The one who I can recognize Vishnu right here, right now, that Vishnu. So this, the other one is also a loop. Yeah, this is the outer loop. Samsara outer loop, you are just skirting the issue. This is really the inner loop where you have come back to yourself. Come back, you never went. So there is no coming back. It's all as though, really speaking, he's going to conclude now. There are no roads, there is no going, there is no coming. And when Purva Pakshi also comes, we'll see. It will be very interesting. So then it says that this Prakrishtam means the most exalted state. Sthanam, it's not even a state, yourself. The most exalted thing that you get, and apnoti, who gets the Vidwan. Here, Vidwan is not Vijnanavan. Vidwan is the one who has got this Vijnanam and has studied with a teacher. Guru Mukhat has studied and sat down with a teacher and gained this knowledge. Now, of course, the confusion arises in several recesses of several minds. What is the confusion? How do I go to this Vishnu's house? Vishnoho Paramam Padam. That itself is enough, Because how do I get there? There must be a way. The whole way was talked about, starting with Ritam Pibanta Vityadi. No, that was not enough, but now, right now where I am, how do you go there? What is Vishnu's house like? How do I enter into Vishnu's house? How do I get into that state of Brahmanhood? People talk like this. How do I become Brahman? Better still, how do I keep on experiencing Brahman without a gap? A gap also is Brahman. No. How do I go to that silence? Why are you opposed to sound? Sound is also Brahman. Silence is also Brahman. If there is anything between sound and silence, that is also Brahman. Bat is Brahman, cat is Brahman, everything is Brahman. And so, but that is not fully understood. Because the person is at a very, still at a level of trying to objectify Brahman and wants to be presented with the head of Brahman on a platter. Please let me look at this. It is not so easy. Why? Because it is not available for objectification. Oh, that means it is unknown? I did not say that. If it is not available for objectification, it is still known. How do you know that it is known? Give me one example. Huh?
Are you here?
No, that is there. But I am giving you some, I am going a step further and giving one Laukika example. Yeah. So, take a guess without looking at the time, How long do you think it has been? So it has been half
42 minutes.
Yeah, 40, huh?
42 minutes.
42 minutes. Okay. How do you know? Did you see time as an object? Huh? How did you know? How did you say so decisively 42 minutes it has been?
There's some inner faith in a...
No, it is a certain things become evident. It is called Sakshi Pratyaksha. It is evident to the witness. You see? The witness being constant, time becomes evident to me. But the time is not objectified just in the same way as flower. You see? But it is known. It is known without really being objectified. It's not that I'm cutting down seconds and looking at it or holding it, holding the time. Somebody even wrote a poem, to hold eternity in an hour. I think it was William Blake. To see the world in a grain of sand, and then something about something in the palm of the hand to rhyme with sand, and to hold eternity in an hour. Very nice poem. They were all Vedantins in a certain way, the romantic poets. Amazing. Amazing what they saw. So, how do you know it is 42 minutes? Actually 52, but never mind, I'll take that as a compliment. So, how do you know it is 42 minutes or whatever? Because there is some other tick that is happening, correct? So time, you have not cut up the seconds and you are looking at the seconds, you are not inhaling the seconds, you are not listening to the sound of the seconds, tick, tick, tick. Neither are you tasting the seconds at the tip of the tongue. But without even grossly objectifying it, you have kind of subtly put your finger on it. And supposing somebody, and the same feeling you have, you get a creepy feeling when somebody is watching you. How do you know? You turn around, the person is not there. Nobody is there. You look around everywhere. You look under the bed also for good measure. These are the childhood samskaras coming back. Monster or two might be there. But nothing under the bed, nothing out of the window. But still you have this feeling of being watched. That is the cognition of space. So time and space become obvious in a very subtle way, correct? Yeah. So the Brahman also is extremely subtle. Lord Yama is going to teach us in the next couple of verses. And then from the grossest to the subtlest, all that is gross is also Brahman. But all that you objectify is also Brahman, but you objectify the name and form. The essence of it, the truth of it, the vastu of it, that which makes it a thing, is yourself alone. So that which includes the subject and the object, that which transcends the subject and the object, that itself is Brahman. But here, the mind is still at a level of a very, wanting to grab hold of Brahman. Can I just hold Brahman for a few minutes? I'll give it back. No, can I please hold Brahman? And so the feeling is, I'm not understanding it because that itself is become a block, that it is not within my hold. And you can cry out till the cows come home. Are you here? Yes, I'm here. And that, what makes you say, yes, that is Brahman? It's not fun. I want to hold, really sort of grasp at Brahman. And that difficulty is talked about here. By leading this person, the newly minted Vijnanavan, along with a good Sarathi, endowed with a good Sarathi, the next two verses lead the sadhaka from the grosser to the subtler, to the subtler, to the subtler, and the subtlest of all, which at this point is beyond objectification because it happens to be yourself, is Brahman. So this is a different kind of leading to really show what is this Vishnoho Paramam Padam. Let us read. Indriyebhyah parahyarthaha arthebhyascha param manah manasastu para buddhihi buddheratma mahan parah mahatah paramavyaktam avyaktat purushah parah purushanna parang kinchit sa kashtha sa paragatihi. These two should be read together because it is one particular block. So we start with the sense organs. Indriya. Indriyebhyah means compared with, fifth case, plural. So compared with the indriyas, or starting from the indriyas, or compared to the indriyas, or departing from the indriyas. Either way you can take. So we start with the sense organs. Artha means sense objects. Para means better. Better means what? More subtle. So, because we are talking from the gross to the subtle. Para means a little less, little less tangible. Little less tangible. You have to take the word para as that. Not superior or better. Superior, para means superior, but superior from the continuum of gross to subtle. Like that superior. So, from the grossest, and we go with the sense organs. Why? Because they are the ones begging to objectify Brahman. They are the ones saying, I want to know Brahman as an object. So we start with our own body, mind, sense complex, and we start with the senses which are yearning to have a darshan of Bhagavan, which are singing sad songs, darshan kab doge, Ghanashyam, please give me darshan, don't play hide a go seek with me, when are you going to come, why are you so elusive, come and stand in front of me, why are you testing me? So this is what the Indriyas are crying out for darshan. So we start with the Indriyas, and they are really gross, meaning they are available for objectification, correct? Eyes, even though the eyes see everything, they are available for objectification, right? And then if you go, this is a slightly strange table, so bear with me, because we don't think like the Upanishad. And this is a particularly kind of a very interesting table which you don't encounter in our everyday transactional life. So then the Upanishad says, if you go beyond the Indriyas, what is there? What is beyond the Indriyas? I mean, beyond means, what do the Indriyas contact? What do the Indriyas want to contact? Objects. Sense organs, Indriyas, sense objects, arthaha. Arthyate sarvaihi. Arthaha. And the Upanishad makes a radical claim that this flower, which my Indriyas objectify, is subtler than the Indriyas themselves. It goes against logic, does it not? Yeah. But the Upanishad makes this claim. Why? It says, because the sense organs are a slave to the sense objects. So, yeah, because they don't really exist, correct? Do they exist? Does this flower exist? It becomes a Zen question now. The existence of this flower, needs a means of objectification. So the means of objectifications becomes more of an object than the flower. Because otherwise it can disappear. What flower, If there is no one to smell it, where is the flower? Not there. So indriyebhyah parahi arthaha. Then something more subtle than the sense objects is what? Where the object cognition takes place. Where is that? Yeah, what is that called in Sanskrit? Read. Manaha. Indriyebhyah parahi arthaha. Arthebhyascha. Even beyond the scope of the arthas, the sense objects is what? The mind. Because really speaking, where does this flower exist? In the mind. So the mind becomes more powerful than the flower. And then the mind becomes also harder to grasp. It's easy to look at the flower, correct? And say this is an object. But it's not easy to look at the flower and say, okay, I'm trying to grasp this flower thought. Flower is easier to grasp than flower thought. Agreed? Yeah. And then what? Manaha in terms of free will. Manaha in terms of the ability to conjecture. And then, who is the boss? Manasastu parabuddhihi. Parabuddhihi. The buddhi is still subtler. Because the manas, is the one who says, I want everything right now. I want that and that and that and that and that, plus I want that and that. The buddhi says, wait a minute. Look at your salary. This is what the buddhi says. You may want the whole universe, but you can only afford, one square foot plot, somewhere in the outskirts. That's all you can afford, enough to put one pair of feet on. That's all. Assuming you're not size 12. Yeah, that's all. You cannot afford more than that. The buddhi comes, correct? The buddhi is at the more subtle than the mind, because you don't know when the buddhi comes. In fact, you are only aware of the buddhi not being there. Where are you when I need you the most? Why didn't you stop me? Idiotic buddhi, where had you gone? And in fact, we have a saying in Indian languages, did the buddhi go to graze in the lawn? Where was the buddhi when you were doing this? The mother might say to the child, where was your buddhi? Was it grazing in the pasture? This is what we say. So the buddhi is so subtle that its absence is understood more than its presence. That subtlety. When it is there, I take it for granted. I don't even notice it. When it is not there, suddenly I miss it after a long time. Like, oh, something is not right. My buddhi is not working very well. Correct? And then there is one more thing bigger than the buddhi. Oh, what is that? The samashti buddhi, the buddhi of all beings. That which abides as the subtle buddhi in all beings, that samashti intelligence, that collective intelligence, Bhagavan in the form of the collective intelligence, the potential to manifest all this whole universe, aka?
Oh, okay.
Also known as? Specific name, Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha. That is called Mahanatma. Buddhehe Atman Mahan Paraha. So even though Mahan Paraha is used, the Mahan has to go with Atma. Buddhehe Mahanatma Paraha. This Mahanatma, that intelligence which is available as the intelligence which is the buddhi of the beast, the buddhi of the brute, the buddhi of this beast, and the buddhi of all beings, the buddhi of all jivas, and also the buddhi in the form of the plant, that small seedling, the buddhi that abides in the sun as it shines, the buddhi in the solar flares, the buddhi in the snow, the buddhi in the weather, the buddhi in everything, that buddhi which is a potential manifester of things coming into being constantly, that intelligence, that all knowledge, Bhagavan in the form of that manifesting knowledge is called Hiranyagarbha, the manifesting potential. So that is better one, that's the collective buddhi. Collective buddhi is subtler than one buddhi. One buddhi also, it's very hard to find, we just established. Where did the buddhi go? We don't know. Most of the time it goes and hides, and the raga dveshas make the decision and prevail. But the Mahan Hiranyagarbha is very subtle. Where are you going to appreciate it? It cannot hardly be objectified. You can sense it because you have a buddhi. You can sense it, but you can't. You can meditate upon it. There is Hiranyagarbha Upasana, and even that Nachiketa ritual had that Hiranyagarbha Upasana as the second part to it. But you cannot objectify it, correct? Yeah. More we will see next week. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om
Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Harihi Om.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Harihi Om. Questions? Deepti is here. That's good. Anil invited me to come to Milwaukee. Yes, the inherent potential which is in the form of knowledge. In all beings, that's what I said. Correct. Any other questions? Yeah, very good that you could come. I'm happy that you are here. Om.